Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Boyos Discuss, the podcast where we pick a topic and then shoot the shit about it for a while. This week we're talking about episode 3 of Kenobi. I'm Matthew, and I'm joined by my co-host Ben. How's it going?
What's going on?
So this is going to be your spoiler warning for this episode and the first 2 episodes as well. So with that out of the way, I'm going to kick things over to Ben so we can get into the synopsis.
Alright, so episode begins. We're looking at it's like a perspective shot in the freighter that they got on last episode, and the third sister like shook her fist at, and she's, ooh. So in this freighter, and Obi-Wan's sitting like meditating, and his back is turned to the camera, and we hear him going like, Qui-Gon, like, I need your help, man, like, he's alive. Fuck.
Yeah.
That's not good. Then he starts hearing like the voices of the third sister and Yoda.
Yeah.
It's like mixed in, and it's like just prequel lines, not like new lines or anything. Well, from third sister it's like last episodes, but Yoda has a prequel line, and then as they're talking, it's just like what they're saying is just kind of like, ooh, Anakin's still alive, and he's like, the path to dark, I don't know, whatever
Yoda stuff.
Very generic shit. And so the scene changes to these like claws going into the back to tank with Vader. He's soaking, and it pulls these like hoses out of his back, pulls
it's
his
so
kidneys
fucking
out.
Gross.
Yeah. And then it goes back to Obi-Wan, and he starts hearing like Qui-Gon talking, but I don't think I don't know, because he's asking Qui-Gon for help. Here's Qui-Gon's voice, but it's not helpful. It's just like a prequel line, like the other ones. And then he hears like Hayden in like flashbacks being like, I hate you, and the Jedi are evil, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to Vader, and it's like putting his arms on, like his spine is like robotic, which looked sick. You never really see Vader's back.
Yeah.
They put on his arms, they put on the chest piece, which has like fucking needles, like it just like sticks into him.
Yeah.
And put the mask on him and everything. And I love that fucking noise so goddamn much that they do in Star Wars, and I never want them to take it away, where like when you put on Vader's mask,
the like seal, like it
like squeaks, like there's a mouse that got stuck in it. I love that. That's my favorite sound. So I was like, that's great. Because I remember little 10-year-old Ben sitting in theater, and when they do that squeegee sound and he breathes for the first time, I think I shit my pants. So they do this,
and then he goes, no.
Well, we don't think about that one. But it's definitely like his whole assembly. It just makes me think of like Obi-Wan in episode 4 talking about Vader, and he's like, he's more machine than man now. It's like, I would say so. That was sick.
Yeah.
And it's all moody, and like there's mist, and everything's black and all this shit. So Vader gets assembled, and he walks off down the hallway. Then we see like an establishing shot of the lava planet, which is obviously Mustafar.
Yeah.
And Vader's like fortress that was in Rogue One, which
so cool.
I thought is
awesome.
Looks like a fucking tuning fork.
Yeah.
And it's like it tunes the dark side. It's like, it's sick. It's an awesome fortress. So shows the fortress. It goes to like Vader's like fucking throne room. Like he's straight up on like a stone throne, sitting there being all moody, and a third sister hologram pops up, and he's talking to her. And I didn't know this till the credits, because like beforehand I was just like, man, they really nailed the Vader voice. Like, who's doing this? And it's fucking James Earl Jones. And I'm like, oh.
I have a note about that, though.
What?
So, in the credits, and, like, obviously this is sort of, like, speculation, they credit the company or whoever it was who was in charge of, like, effects that did the de-aging of Luke's voice in Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, so they, like, de-aged?
Yeah, they used AI to sort of like de-age, or that's the speculation anyways, because they're credited in that episode's credits.
Okay.
So that's sort of the assumption, because especially after like Rogue One, that was a complaint people had, where they were like, yeah, he sounds like a lot older because he's like fucking 80 at this point.
Right.
But it like, I think they've sort of tweaked it enough, or maybe it just being a robotic sounding character sort of helps that and sort of masks that. It's not a situation where like with Luke, he didn't feel like he was talking like naturally. Like it felt like, what an AI would assume him to sound like.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah,
and like the cadence of his speech and stuff. Because like there's moments in this where it's like, if I saw the line written out, I absolutely would not have said it like James Earl Jones does.
Yeah,
like he has a really good cadence and everything. But it's never bothered me. I never watched Rogue One and was like, oh, he sounds old. It's fucking James Earl Jones, dude. I'm just psyched
it's like,
to
I
hear
just
him.
want to hear more of that
He's
as
great.
long as we can.
I don't care what the fuck he sounds like.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's talking and talking to the third sister, and he's like, if you get me what I want, you can be what you want. And he's like, he's basically like, I don't give a fuck about the Grand Inquisitor. Whatever. You schwacked him? Good for you. Get me Kenobi. And he has a really cool line. He's like, it's like, get me Kenobi and you can have everything you want. And he's like, fail me and you won't live to regret it. And it's like, ooh.
It's
Vader.
Like, I love that he's like playing all the Inquisitors against each other. I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Like it's perfect.
And he just like, he obviously like doesn't give a shit about any of them. Like,
yeah.
That's,
Oh yeah. They're
they think that they do. They're like, oh, Vader, talk to me.
Yeah.
But
we need to get that promotion.
Yeah. It's like your psychopath CEO of a company, and they're like, I don't care about who gets what. So you won't live to regret it. They go to the next scene. Back to Luke and Leia, and Leia's like on the freighter going like, are we there yet? She's like, why speed us up with the Force? And Obi-Wan's like, that's not how the Force
works. Clap, you nerds.
Yep.
We said that line.
Yeah, I know. I was like, ha. But she's like, what's the Force like? And he's like, what's a cool, gentle breeze on the meadows dew? No, he doesn't. He's like, he says it's like a light in the dark. That's what the Force is like. And I'm like, aha, it's foreshadowing for later. So he fixes Leia's droid, the little like ladybug bunny ear looking one. Yeah. And it does nothing all episode. I forgot that he fixed it until I rewatched this, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So that's nice. The freighter starts landing on this desert planet, and it's not like desert. It's like I forget all the fucking biomes we learned in middle school, but it's like the one with
it's like plains.
There's shrubs.
Like, there's little shrubs. It's not quite desert.
It's like New Mexico desert.
Yeah.
There's shrubs and tall plants, but it's shitty.
Yeah.
It looks shitty. So they land on this planet, and it's really cool shots of them coming in and stuff, and they land. At the port, there's this like loader droid we haven't seen before, right?
Yeah,
this is a new
I think it's
design.
I don't recognize it from anything.
I
mean, it could be in some book or something, but
it looks like a robot out of the fucking. Did you ever play that game? It was like a glitch in the Matrix, or not the Matrix, a glitch in the system or something. Metal Arms. Metal Arms, a glitch in the system.
I have not played that. That is a very
it's a deep cut. It's a deep cut, but I feel like that's where this guy came from.
Okay.
Anyway, he's moving boxes or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, look at that!"
It reminded me of
big robot.
Do you remember the movie Real Steel? It's the one with Hugh Jackman. It's like Rocky with robots, basically.
Oh God, no, I don't know this.
So it's like this whole thing where like it's big old like cool robots, but then there's this little shit one that's like a cargo one, like it's meant for like manual labor that they
wins the day.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's what it looked like.
That's awesome. So this guy, this big old bot's moving boxes, and Obi-Wan and Leia are like, all right, he's too dumb to notice us. Let's go. And they sneak her out.
Yeah, he even says something like, oh, those are the worker ones. They can't talk.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Whoop, and they go. Next scene, they're just walking down the road in this desert heat. And so there's like, they do establishing shots of the planet still, and there's like, there's an Imperial outpost that they show, Imperial flag, stormtroopers, and then there's like a refinery in the background as they're walking. So you can see it's like Imperial control. So yeah, they're talking. Obi-Wan's talking about this planet. He says it's called Mapuzo. It sounds kind of dirty. Mapuzo. Why don't you stick it in Mapuzo? So they're on Mapuzo, and Obi-Wan, So Leia's like, what? Let's go to these coordinates. And he's like, I don't know, it's kind of sketchy. And she's like, you don't trust him? And he's like, not everyone's good, Leia. It's like, I'm like, that's not very Obi-Wan, but I felt that.
Yeah.
Yell at the kid. I like that. So he's like reflecting on the planet before the Empire came. He's like, there were fields and families
There's
here.
all sorts of farms. It was
Now
great.
it's fucking trash.
That's a shithole.
Which I don't really understand how they could have done that much damage in 10 years to an entire fucking planet.
I mean,
But anyway,
yeah.
Empire bad. Then he's walking, and then he goes, and he sees, like, in the distance, there's this hooded guy, and it is straight up like Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
Like, he's like super pale and bald, like burned Vader, kind of, I guess.
I don't think we even see enough of him to know.
He looked pale and bald to me, but yeah, you're right. It's pretty brief and from a distance.
Yeah.
So he's like in the heavy Jedi robes with the hood up, and he looks at Obi-Wan, and I knew just because it's Star Wars that's Anakin,
Yeah.
or it was supposed to be, but like it was so fast. I didn't know it was Hayden Christensen or anything, but like everybody talked about it, and I went back, and when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
So blink and you miss it, but there's a mirage of Anakin, but he wasn't actually there.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan like blinks and he's gone, and he's like, oh.
But it's like some people have sort of pointed out that, not jumping ahead necessarily, but like that could sort of be foreshadowing of like he senses what's gonna happen, and then
Oh yeah.
yeah. So
Well, even at the beginning of the episode when he's talking, like asking Qui-Gon for help, he's like, he's coming.
yeah,
And it's like, it's dope when he's like, he's coming, I'm scared.
yeah,
And so he knows that he's coming, and that was just even more like,
yeah.
I think he is definitely coming.
yeah,
So cut to the Inquisitor ship coming in to another planet, and it's fucking like, it's not Camino. It's another water world that's not all stormy all the time.
yeah.
And it's the base from The Spy Who Loved Me
Yeah.
from James Bond. No, it's this big
Jaws
fucking...
is there.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. No, there's this big like pyramid in the water.
Yeah.
And this is, if you've played Jedi Fallen Order, then you'll recognize this. And it was dope to see it. I forget, like, is there an actual name for this planet
They
and base?
say it in
I feel like
the-
they don't though. They're like the Grand Inquisitorium, or I don't know what.
It's the Fortress Inquisitorius.
Yeah,
is the building,
there it
but
is.
like they say the name of the planet. I don't remember it. But yeah.
But it's their fortress, right?
Yeah,
So it's
it's
their
dope.
base, and it's really cool. Like in the game, you infiltrate it by diving into the water and going up into it underwater, and it's like sick.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the Inquisitor ship comes in, lands in the hangar. Third sister comes out. She does her whole badass jaunt to the meeting room and goes through like fucking airport security. I don't know what that was. A
That
metal detector.
reminded me of do you remember in it's the Family Guy Star Wars, I think the one of Return of the Jedi, when like they're going to the new Death Star.
Yeah, it's like my keys.
No, it's like he's on like a space, or like basically an airplane landing in there, and there's like all these tourists that get out first, and he's like, "What the fuck? Like I hated this. Why did we have to do it this way?"
Yeah, that would have been better.
And they have there's that like that cancer patient kid, and he's like yelling about all the other people in the plane, and he's like, "This is Timmy from the Make-A-Wish Foundation." He's like, "Oh, Timmy, you're here to see the Death Star
I'm so
too."
happy to have you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that pretty much is how it goes down.
Yeah.
She walks through airport security, gets to the meeting room. Fifth brother, that's who it is. I learned that recently. I was like, okay, that's his actual title.
Yeah.
And this other woman, I don't think the other Inquisitor was ever in Rebels. She's like
I
this
don't think so.
yellow looking
Yeah, I don't
noodle head. I don't know.
think so.
Yeah.
Noodlehead.
So there's
Yeah.
two of these other Inquisitors. Third sister is like, hey, he's on a desert planet. I know it. The freighter was going to one of these places. Let's get this shit together. And fifth brother is just like, fuck you.
Yeah.
You killed the Grand Inquisitor. I know what you're doing. You want the spot, so fuck you. I want the spot.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I just talked to Vader, so
Yeah.
get fucked. And he's like, damn. And she goes, send the probes. And they're like, fine. And they shoot out these probes very phallically from the top
I
of
did not.
it was an eruption from the top of
Apparently,
the
I
spire.
have a clean mind because
Yeah.
I did not.
Well, dirty
see
it up and watch that scene again, and you'll know what I'm talking about. So, probes shoot out. Obi-Wan, back to him on the desert planet. Obi-Wan tells Leia, he's like, this is our alibi. Your name is Luma. My name is, I forget.
Something lame.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is what it is. We're farmers. And don't fucking talk to anybody. Don't do anything. And it's like, yeah, okay, sure. Like, even, like, the second he said that, I was like, yeah, no, that'll work.
Yeah.
But, so they arrive at the spot, and it's literally just a patch of desert. And immediately he's like, damn it!
It's like, it's been 2 minutes.
This is not the spot!
Yeah.
He lied! And Leia's like, well, what this might be? And he's like, shut up, nerd. This is not it, and I hate everyone.
Yeah.
And they see a truck coming. Straight up as a truck. It's not even, like, Star Wars-y.
It's weird,
Yeah.
like, and this is something that I've thought about since Solo, A Star Wars Story. They have these, like, speeders that are, like, locked to a certain altitude, and it's just sort of weird. Like, I don't know, like, we never saw that in the prequels. I mean, we saw that in the original trilogy, obviously, because you have, like, land speeders and stuff, but it's weird that we are, like, I don't know, it seems very un-Star Wars-y to me.
Right, I know.
But, I don't know.
I agree.
That's a nitpick, if anything, and that's more like they don't really make it clear.
It straight up felt like it was a pickup truck.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Which is fine. Like, it's
Whatever.
a farm planet. Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
It can't be fancy, but it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't seem as Star Wars-y. It's just kind of like, all right, here's this truck coming.
Yeah.
So the truck comes, Leia's like, whoa, truck! Flags it down. Obi-Wan's like, what did I just fucking say?
Yeah.
She goes, immediately starts talking to the driver. She's like, my name's Luma, and we're farmers, hee.
Yeah.
And blows the cover. He doesn't actually blow the cover, but I was like, Leia, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
So she's talking to the driver, and it's this mole man named Freck, who apparently is voiced by Zach Braff.
Yeah.
JD from Scrubs, if you're not familiar with his name. But wow, I didn't know that.
I only knew that because people online said that.
I would have never known. He sounds like just like yeah. It's like, that's Zach Braff?
Yeah.
But okay. This delicious Braff meat shows up in Star Wars. So, he's like, Leia's like, oh, say hello, father. And he goes, hello. And it's like, that's it?
Yeah.
Come on.
No meme line.
Give me the hello there.
Yeah.
Give me the meme line. I'm such a hypocrite because we're all like, oh, look, it's more member berries. But then when I don't get it, I'm like, yeah. So he just says hello.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan's like, we just need directions.
That's
Leia,
it.
Chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
And Leia's like, nonsense. Just jumps in the truck.
Yeah.
And it's like, Leia, this man probably has a body count. We don't know shit about this planet.
Yeah.
Get out of the truck. But she's in the truck, and so Obi-Wan's like, all right, let's fucking get in the truck.
Yeah.
And as he's getting in, he sees a big old MAGA flag. I mean, shit. No, I'm sorry. It's a big old Confederate. I mean, fuck. It's the Empire flag.
Ah,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. So they get in the back of the truck with the the Empire flag, and Freck is super conservative. I mean, he's really into
like,
the Empire.
Maybe Blue Lives Matter.
Yeah, straight up. He's
And
like,
we're like,
yeah, he's like, I just think they
don't
keep
know,
order, man. Yeah, he starts giving out political opinions, and it's
Yeah.
like, bro,
It's like, look at right-wing Twitter. That's
I know.
That's
It's
what
very
we're-
on the nose, and it was
Yeah.
not subtle, and it was like, okay, I get it. You're
I
in
found
like
it sort
you're
of
in a very
amusing.
rural, yeah, I know, but it's like you're in a very rural spot, more deserty and hot, with a guy flying a flag and being like, the old ways, I liked it. And it's just like, okay, I get it. So,
oh my god.
so they're in his truck, and he's like, I love the Empire so much, I'm gonna pick up 4 stormtroopers, and they're just on the side of the road, and he's
No,
like,
and I do sort of like that they recognize him. They're like, hey, Freck,
yeah, what's up, Freck?
Yeah, and it's like,
He's like, you boys, I'm thirsty. Come on over.
it's this weird, like, small town thing that,
Yeah.
like, we don't really get that in Star Wars often.
Kind of wholesome.
Yeah, except they're murderers.
Yeah,
but,
well,
yeah.
You brought him juice boxes and shit. So they jump in his truck, and Freck is like, I got this weirdo back here. Say hi. And the troopers are like, we're looking for a Jedi. And Obi-Wan's like, oh shit, do I still look like a Jedi? And he does, very much so.
Yeah.
He's wearing the robes and everything. He's like, uh-oh. And they go like, you don't know anything, do you? And he's like, well, I'm just traveling with my potato, and I don't know anything. And Leia starts talking about something, and he's like, "That's right, Leia," or something. He says her name.
Yeah. He's like saying his whole cover story thing, and they're like, "Why are you on this planet?" And they're like, "We're here to just my wife died here,
hold
was
on,
buried here."
You're jumping ahead, dude.
Okay.
He's like, "We're farmers, and we're just trying to get to this city." Blah blah blah. And then they're also like, "Tell us your story." He's like, "Nah, it's a long story." And they're like, "I got time."
Yeah.
But their stop is like down the street. But anyway, they're like, "I got time." So Obi-Wan's like, "We're going to this city." And then Leia starts talking, and he goes, "Leia, shut up." And he goes, "I thought you said her name was Luma."
Yeah.
And he blows his cover, and he's like, I get confused. Leia was her mother's name.
They fucking handled that
and
like
I miss
champs.
her very much, and we actually came out here to visit her grave.
That's
and
right, yeah.
we miss her very much. And the troopers are like, "Dead
Now I
wife
feel like
cover,
an
huh?"
asshole.
Yeah. So they're like, all right, well.
You win this round.
Yeah. Just reminds me of this like Reddit thing I saw where this guy's like talking about, it's like, if you had one wish, what would it be? And this guy posted a comment, he's like, "My wife passed away all this time ago, and this and that, I would love to make love to her one more time." And then the comment underneath is like, "My wish would also to be to fuck this husband's dead
God.
wife." I don't know why that's what I thought of, but there it is.
That's well, like in this scene, do you remember, this is another like Star Wars parody reference, so it's on topic. In the Robot Chicken Star Wars, they have the thing with Yarrow Poof, who's like the long neck Jedi.
Where'd everyone go?
Yeah, he later in that episode, he's like on an Imperial ship.
The cafeteria worker.
He's the cafeteria worker, and they're like, "I sense a disturbance in the Force."
You didn't give us any crackers.
And he's like shitting his pants.
Yeah. That's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Yep. So he makes up this whole story. The troopers are like, "All right, we're dicks," and they're like, "All right, drop us off here." And they get to their spot, which was down the road when they said they had time. But anyway,
were they just gonna walk back? Like if Freck hadn't arrived,
that's
were
a
they
good
just gonna
fucking
walk
point.
back?
You know what? You're right. Yeah, weird. Okay, so the troops get off. Leia and Obi-Wan have a moment. Leia looks at him, and she's like, you know what? I kind of left this out. So as Obi-Wan was talking to the troopers about Luma's mother, he's like, "Yes, she's very much like her mother, and I love her mother. She's awesome." And Leia's like looking at him like, "You're selling this really well."
Yeah.
So the troopers leave. Leia's like, "You know what? I think you knew my mom. Did you know my mom?" And Obi-Wan's like, yeah. And she's like, "Are you my dad?" And that's awesome. Like
that moment broke my heart.
That was
like, and
it's awesome in the way that it made me feel. I was like, ooh, the emotion.
Yeah, and then him being like, "No, but like I wish that I could say that I was."
Mm-hmm.
Like, God, that
I know, and she looks so like confused, and also like, "Are you?" and kind of hopeful. And then when he's like, "No," she's like, "Oh."
Yeah.
It's like, damn. You don't want your dad. You live on a paradise planet as a princess. Don't worry.
Your dad's a crispy boy.
Yeah, you're fine. But he's like, "No, I'm not your dad." But then Obi-Wan is like talking about. He's like, I don't. He's like, "I was taken very young to be a Jedi." And this is kind of fucked up. He's talking about his backstory, and he's like, I don't remember really my mom and my dad.
I feel like I had a brother.
Yeah, I think I had a brother.
And it's like,
and it's very like, it made me think of Halo when they like abduct these kids to turn them into Spartans.
Yeah.
And then these Spartans talk about it, and they're like, "Yeah, I think I had a family, and I think I grew up like this, but they just kidnapped us to be in this thing."
Yeah,
to be warriors.
And then they ruined it in the live-action Halo show.
We don't talk about that. That's not associated. Everything past Halo 3 doesn't count.
What's wrong
Halo
with
Reach.
Halo 4?
Sorry.
Halo 4 is fine.
It set up the whole thing, and, it's like Episode 7. It's guilty by association.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I got heavy John 117 vibes, but I'm like, "Oh, Ewan, it's okay."
Yeah.
So, then Freck pulls up to this checkpoint, like a laser barrier,
And he's like,
And-
it's fine.
Yeah,
it's
and
just
Obi-Wan's like,
routine
hey, Freck, can
inspection."
we get the fuck out of your truck now?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it's fine. And they pull up, and the stormtroopers are like, hey, what's going on? And Freck comes out, and he's like, I want you to check this guy, because he's a sussy baka.
Yeah.
And so the troopers go in the back, and they're like, who are you? Step out of the car. Let's bring in the drug dogs. Like, So they bring him out of the truck. And one of the probes that was sent out, I guess, shows up, and it's like, yeah, we're going to check you. And it's super dramatic, and he's like, oh, shit. And the probe, we see it from the probe's perspective and the camera, and it pans up, and he's looking at it, and they're like, raise your head up. And he's looking at the probe, and he gets identified, and he's like,
Yeah.
And then he started blasting.
Yeah.
He just fucking pulls out his gun, shoots the probe, shoots all these stormtroopers, just bow, 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 killing them all indiscriminately, just fucking wrecking it.
Yeah.
Shoots one guy in a tower. He falls, gets fucking cut in half.
Yeah.
You can't show a guy being hung in the first episode,
Yeah, this
but
episode,
he gets cut in half.
like, there's stuff that happens later on in this
It's
that
dark.
I won't talk about. This goes in some, like, really fucked
I feel
up
like
places.
every
like,
nitpick or not nitpick, but like the issues we had with the first episode with like the tame Disney aspect and Leia being like too fucking smart and good at everything. I feel like this episode really just was like noticed. I don't know, and then fixed it. Like there's a lot of stuff in here that's like, this seems like what a 10-year-old would do, and this seems like very fucking dark.
yeah,
Like,
for sure,
yeah, he just gets cut in half, and I'm like, oh my god, that's just a dude, man. Like,
Yeah.
shit.
Freck is like, that was T1787. He was gonna retire tomorrow,
I
man.
love that guy. And then that guy's he's later gonna have a robot half and come after Obi-Wan for revenge.
Yeah.
But the dude gets cut in half and everything, and then so after he kills all these fucking soldiers, he just like pops Freck on the back of the neck with the butt, knocks him out.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're killing everybody, dude, it's not like he was the only
Like,
person.
go big or go home.
Right. Yeah, why save him? You just
Yeah.
killed a bunch of dudes that probably were just trying to pay for their college.
Yeah.
Like,
The Imperial College
you just
loan
killed a bunch of
forgiveness
conscripts,
program.
dude. Like, that's fucked up. They have families. So, not even that it's fucked up. He just made me think about that because he didn't kill that guy. Like, his life is worth more than these stormtroopers. It's like, he's not.
Yeah. But that's
the
Zach
same.
Braff.
You're right. He's a treasure. You need to preserve him. Somehow Freck
We
returned.
need Freck a Star Wars story.
Yeah. He could team up with fucking Dexter Jetson. That'd be amazing.
The Camino Saber Knife.
Yeah.
I want that.
Right? We'll do our own spinoff. So he knocks out Freck, and then this soldier comes up and he's holding Leia as a hostage, and he's like, drop your gun. And he pulls the whole fucking Boardwalk Empire, like, he's got the kid hostage, and he's like putting the gun down. He's like, don't look, close your eyes.
Yeah.
And he shoots the trooper as he's putting the gun down, fakingly, whatever. It just made me think. Yeah. I had just watched Boardwalk Empire, and that scene literally happens in that show. So I couldn't help it. So then after he kills all these guards, he like tries to deactivate the barrier, and the lever's not working, so he just fucking shoots it. And in Star Wars,
So, like,
that fixes everything.
Here's my thing. You can...
go around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, why do we have to go through it necessarily? I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's-
Because they didn't bring the truck or anything.
yeah.
They just,
Yeah, why didn't they bring the truck?
I don't know.
Maybe
you're looking for logic, and it's not there.
Yeah. You're right.
But he shoots the panel and deactivates the laser barrier that could easily be walked around
Yeah.
because it's only
You could
on
go
the road.
under it. You could duck under it.
Yeah, you could
Honestly?
probably vault over it.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
But yeah, so that gets deactivated, and they're like, "We made it!" And then another troop transport shows up, and they're like, "Fuck!"
Yeah.
And then 3 soldiers pop out with an officer, and they're like, "Put your weapons down!" And Obi-Wan puts it on the ground, and then the officer just fucking whacks all the stormtroopers with their backs turned. She just pow, 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 kills them all.
Yeah, and she says, I'm the spy!
Yeah, it's me. Hello. Yeah, she's not a very good spy.
Yeah.
So the officer kills all the troops, and she's like, "I'm the spy. I'm gonna help you." And it's the fucking like, I forget her name, but in Game of Thrones, it's like the mother of the Sand Snakes.
I didn't watch Game of Thrones.
Well, she's like she competes with Cersei and everything.
Okay.
If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. She's the mom of the Sand Snakes.
Sure.
And it was weird to see her in this. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
because she's a fucking horrible, like evil character in that show.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, from there, Inquisitors are back on their little fucking moon base, or their water base, their Hurricane Harbor world, and they see, like, obviously their probe picked up that Obi-Wan blasted it, and they're like, oh, dope, he's there, he's on Mapuzo. So they're like, go ahead and shut down all those ports for me, homie, and the fucking workers are like, aye, aye, Captain, and they shut it, and they're doing their thing, and the Inquisitors leave. Next scene, the officer is like, my name's Tala. So we're gonna call her Tala now. Tala tells Obi-Wan, she's like, why didn't you fucking stay at the coordinates we gave you, dog? And he's like, oh.
Yeah, we came like a minute after you left, dude. What the fuck?
He's like, oops. Sorry. So Obi-Wan's gonna learn a thing or two about trust.
Yeah.
But anyway, she's like, all right, you stay here. They're in a little village. She's like, I'm gonna go find my plug. He's gonna figure this all out. So she runs away. Leia's
He's
like,
gonna get us the good shit.
Yeah. You got that free sample that I tried to get in your pocket at that last place?
Yeah.
You did. All
Yeah.
right, dude. Wait here. Anyway, she leaves. Leia's like, Obi-Wan, I miss home. And he's like, word. Yeah, I bet. I'm gonna get you there.
Yeah.
Tala shows back up. She's like, all right, we're good. They go to this house, run across the street, open up the house. There's one of those loader bots from earlier, which is, it's a cool design. I like him. He looks, you know what? Now that I think about it, kind of looks like the commanders of the, like, separatist armies in Clone Wars.
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm talking about?
the like
The ones that talk?
Yeah. The tactical droids or whatever.
It reminds me of that a little bit, like the head.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. So that robot's there, and she's like, he doesn't talk, but he's trustworthy. He's a good friend.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're in the house. You know, the loader bot pulls this lever, and this little secret room opens up, and it's an underground railroad kind of thing. And they're like, okay, cool. She's like, yeah, I've helped a bunch of Jedi through here. Like, we've had a lot of people going through here, and there's like carvings on the wall.
Yeah, there's a lot of different names they have, and this is like something that people who are more, I guess, in tune with like the comics and the books, like there's a lot of references beyond the one that like most people
Like written in the Star Wars language that people are deciphering.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, what's
Yeah.
wrong with people? We're not that in depth. I'm sorry, guys. Go to another podcast.
Gotta look at the Wikipedia.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. No, we're not that much. But there's a bunch of like scrawls on the walls.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan even is like, oh, hey, it's my boy, Quinlan.
Yeah.
Quinlan Voss. And that guy's dope. That guy's
He
a
was
sick-ass
cool.
Jedi.
He had-
He's like a Jamaican-looking guy.
A Jamaican.
Yeah, he's got dreadlocks with like a yellow stripe under his eyes.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah.
Rasta.
He was a big deal in like Legends
Yeah.
stuff. Like
Yeah.
they have sort of brought some of that back in like the books.
He's in Clone Wars.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. But it's sort of interesting that because I feel like in one of the newer books they imply that he did not survive Order 66. But
Yeah, I wouldn't think that he did. But
yeah,
he did, apparently.
So yeah, it's interesting that we have that like, oh no, he's been here, like he's somewhere basically.
Yeah, so that was cool. Quinlan Voss reference. They're in this secret room, and she's like showing him around, and then all of a sudden they're banging at the door, and the Gestapo are there looking for the Jews.
Oh my god.
I mean,
yikes.
it's the troopers looking for Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. It's
Jesus.
very like it. Come on.
I mean, yeah, it like very much is like we talked about in the previous episode, like Inglourious Bastards
Yeah.
at the beginning, where they're like going
It's
door
heavy.
to door.
It's heavy. Like
It is
hide
yeah.
from the Nazis energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're in the secret room, and the troopers come in, and the silent robot's the only one in the house, and they're like, what's going on? Oh, it's just this stupid droid, don't know nothing, but he's like behind his back, he's got a hammer just ready to fucking
He's gonna
bonk him.
fucking He's not gonna bonk them. He's gonna fucking cave their skulls in.
Oh yeah, it'd be brutal.
Like,
I'd be ready for it.
He's a big boy.
He is big. He got the strength for it. But they don't have to. The troopers are just like, whatever, and they leave.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. But after they leave, Obi-Wan's like,
he looks like he shat his
Yeah.
pants. He's like, oh no.
yeah, he feels something. He feels something.
He feels something.
He's like, I shouldn't have had that second cup of coffee. So then they go to the door to like see what the fuck made Obi-Wan so spooked, and it's like, it is night. Like, it is dark now.
Yeah.
And it's weird because the scene before, when they run into the house, it's like daytime, like noon.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even sunset or anything. So it's like, it's a weird time jump that doesn't, there was no time for that to happen because they just led up every scene back to back. So it was a weird continuity thing for me. Like, I don't know why it was dark, but I mean, it helps with the atmosphere. I just wish that they were like, okay, wait, like the troops are looking, we need to sit here till we know they're gone, and then, you know, time skip.
Yeah.
Something.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of weird. But anyway, it's night, and Obi-Wan and Tala are looking at the fucking, through the slits in the door, and then, you know, you see there's perspective change. You see, like, you hear Vader's breath, you see his shadow, and you're like, oh shit, it's your boy. So he fucking walks up, you see full Vader standing there.
Yeah.
And he starts just walking down the street, not saying a word. He's got Inquisitors. The Inquisitors are behind him with stormtroopers.
Yeah.
And he's just walking down the street. And fucking these dumbasses are like looking out their windows. They're like, oh, who's this guy?
Yeah.
And Vader just grabs one of these, like, he grabs this guy, pulls him out of his house, is just strangling him. The sun runs out, and he's like, yo, that's my pops.
Yeah.
Gets his neck snapped for his trouble.
That was fucking insane.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I
the
wasn't
fact
ready.
that we couldn't show a guy being hung in the first episode, and then we're like, oh, here's a kid getting his neck snapped.
If Disney's point, like, I'll give them benefit of the doubt. If they tried to lull us into this, like,
yeah, they were like,
a
it's
Disney
the first
show.
Episode.
Yeah,
Your kids will be
it'll
fine
mild,
watching it.
And then they hit us with that. Bravo.
Yeah.
Because they very much surprised me. I was not thinking that they would go there.
That was extremely dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that was their intention, fucking well done. Like, that got me. But it's I don't know. It's kind of strange that they couldn't commit to him being hung or this and that, but they could commit to that for Vader.
Yeah.
But I know Disney actually, like, everything they've done with Darth Vader has been amazing. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Like his portrayal in Rebels, his portrayal in Rogue One, his portrayal in this, very on point. It all seems very like this is this character, and it's faithful, and it's like Vader just, like, I feel like Disney executives just are like, do whatever you want with Star Wars, but Vader has to be this.
Yeah.
So they're nailing it. Vader's snapping necks and choking out motherfuckers, and the mom is just like crying over her dead son's body, and it's like, holy shit! And Obi-Wan's just like, fuck! And Vader just keeps walking, not saying a thing. Gets another woman, just starts dragging her behind him, and she's screaming, and it's just like, oof, my god. So then, you know, fucking Obi-Wan is like, Leia, you gotta fucking go. Like, this is not good. Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
You're going. Talia, take Leia. You guys go down the railroad. I'm gonna be a distraction. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
And Leia's like, Papa, and he's like, I'll be right behind you. And then he goes to Tala, and he's like, get her to Alderaan. I'm not gonna be right behind you. So he dips. He's poking in and out of alleyways and stuff, and Vader is like sensing him.
Yeah.
He's like, like looking around. And then the next scene, Obi-Wan's running through a quarry kind of thing, like a bunch of pebbles and stuff. It's like a quarry that's being worked in.
This is something like someone else online pointed out. There's very few moments in Star Wars where it's like no music is playing, and this is one of those types of scenes.
The atmosphere in this for the rest of this episode is palpable.
Yeah, it's fucking on point. It's excellent.
So it's real dark. It's nighttime. He's running through the quarry. The camera's, in front of Obi-Wan, so he's running towards the camera from a distance. And then as the camera pans back even more, you just see Vader's like glove with his lightsaber.
Dude.
And he ignites it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and Obi-Wan's standing like underneath the perspective of the lightsaber.
Yeah.
It's just a really cool shot. And it is a shot that they spoiled in the
I'm okay with
the
that.
way that
I'm okay with it.
like
The
when you
marketing material.
right, the marketing. When
Yeah.
you're looking at the Kenobi show on Disney Plus and you're
That's
picking an episode,
the-
that is the shot.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's not at night, it's daytime on Tatooine or whatever, but like that's the shot.
yeah.
And I it's a good shot. I wouldn't have liked to have that spoiled for me,
Yeah.
but whatever. You know, it's a
Yeah.
nitpick. It's funny though. So he ignites his lightsaber. Obi-Wan pulls his hilt out. He's getting ready to fucking square up, and he goes, "Ah!" and like runs away.
Yeah, he looks at him and he's like, "Nah, this ain't it."
Yeah, he runs to the
Yeah.
side, and Vader just like puts up his lightsaber and is just like,
This bitch.
and he's like, "Really?" Which is funny, you know.
Yeah.
So Obi-Wan runs away. Now he's on his own in the dark. Like he was saying, oh my gosh, like the Force is a light in the dark. And I'm stuck in the dark. And
Yeah.
he turns his lightsaber on like his little light. And that's what he's holding on to.
Yeah.
But he's fucking spooked. Like
And
he's,
this is shot straight up like a horror movie.
Yeah.
Like we're seeing really close up shots of Obi-Wan like looking around
and
frantically.
the lightsaber light is like it's actually
It's like a flashlight. It's like all you can
Right.
see is the light from the
exactly
Yeah.
There's no ambient light beyond that, so it's very like close up is all you can see.
Yeah.
And it looks like the color palette of this whole scene is fucking awesome. Like it's so well done.
Yeah.
So he's looking around with his lightsaber, and Vader like materializes. Like you don't even see
That
him walking
was
up.
so
He just you just see the lights of his suit, and then he just like appears.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that
Yeah.
gave me chills. I was like, that was fucking awesome. So Vader materializes out of the dark, and Obi-Wan, you know, is holding his lightsaber, and he's like, "What have you become?"
And I love that
Yeah.
he knows.
Yeah.
He knows it's Anakin.
Yeah,
Like-
and you could feel it.
Oh.
He's like, "What have you become?" And that's the first word he said to him from after Episode 3. You know.
Yeah.
And Vader, like, this is what I'm talking about with the James Earl Jones cadence. He's like, I am what you made me. And it's
Oh
just
my
like,
God.
oh.
There's so many good lines. Like we'll get there. Like there's a few. We'll get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So many good.
Like, there's so many ways you could have said that line, but James Earl Jones just found the way to fucking really, it sounds so, like,
Yeah.
So then we cut to the Inquisitors, which I don't like when scenes are building so well, and it's like you can tell that's where all the attention went, and
And
they
then they
put in
bounce
other
back and
scenes,
forth, yeah.
dude. That always bothers me. Just
Yeah.
let a scene play out for the love of God. But anyway, they cut to the Inquisitors. They're in the town still, left behind from Vader. The third sister is like looking around, and she senses the house that they went in, the Underground Railroad house. She goes into the house, and then the scene flips back and forth between like Talia and Leia in the tunnel to the third sister just peeking around in the house.
Yeah.
And then so now it goes back to what we actually want to see. Obi-Wan apparently has gotten away and is in like a scrapyard kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Still in a quarry. Vader pops up like just fucking like fucking Bespin style. Like when Luke is like just on his own for a minute, like halfway through that fight in Episode 5. He just pops up,
Yeah.
starts fucking wailing on him, and it's just like, I love Vader's fucking fight style because it's so inelegant. It's just fucking it's backing. It's like bop bop bop.
Yeah.
He's just whacks. Like that's his whole thing because he's so fucking strong because he just got robot arms. It's like, that's great.
And it's always one-handed
Yes,
too.
I
Like
know.
that's
So he's just fucking using it like a baseball bat on Obi-Wan, who's got both hands, and he's like, ah!
Yeah.
So then it cuts back to Leia, and Tala is like, Leia, you're good, right? You got this? Leia's like, I'm 10. She's like, yeah, you got this. So Tala leaves to help Obi-Wan, we assume. She's like, I gotta go. So she leaves. Cuts to the third sister. She finds the switch to the secret room. And when I was first watching this, I was like, where's the fucking bonk bot? Where's the hammer boy?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
They bring him later, but it was still felt weird that he wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. But the third sister finds the switch, opens it up, and it goes into that secret room right before the tunnel. Vader, it cuts back to Obi-Wan and Vader's, and it really fucking shows his just whacking,
Yeah.
his wailing on Kenobi, and the one arm whack style. And he goes, "You should have killed me when you had the chance."
God,
and I'm like,
such
that's a great
dope
line because it's like it's so layered. Like on surface level, it's like he's like, "Oh, you have no chance. Like you're done, bro." It's like
Yeah.
you should have, like you almost had me. You should have gone for it because now I'm gonna fuck you up. But beyond that, you like Anakin. His character is in so much fucking pain
all
from
the
like
time.
all the
Yeah,
time.
constantly.
He Padme's dead. His children are dead. That he thinks.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he was like, I hate you. Like, you should have fucking killed me. Like, I want to die right now.
Yeah.
But fuck you. And the only thing that's keeping him going is the hate.
Yeah.
And that's great. Great layering right there. I hope that's what they were intending. And of course, I mean, I don't know how you'd write that line and not think about that. But anyway, cut back to the third sister. She's in the secret room and she's feeling all the little engravings. She finds an old, like the old Republic symbol, like the lightsaber with the wings around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like,
Yeah.
throws a tantrum and knocks over like a basket. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Cut back to Vader and Obi-Wan. Vader knocks over this fucking stack of something. I couldn't tell what it was.
It's the gas canister.
I don't know. It looked like
something.
rusty bolts. Like it was like a big scattering of like these copper colored somethings.
Yeah.
But apparently they're very flammable.
Yes.
So he knocks those over, and he grabs Obi. He just fucking is like, all right, I'm done with you, Obi-Wan. He just grabs him, lifts him up in the air. Obi-Wan drops his lightsaber, and he's just dangling in the air like a bitch. And he's just like, ah. Vader lights the fucking shit that he threw down with his lightsaber. And it just like starts this huge cascade of fire, and there's this big fire barrier between the two of them.
Yeah.
And Vader's like, now you're gonna get it.
Yeah. He says like, burn like I burned or something like that. There's
he's
some
like, now
line-
you will suffer like I suffered or something like that.
And it's like, oh my god. Like,
so he lights all the scrap and he just forces Obi-Wan down onto the fire and starts like dragging him through the burning rocks and fire and shit.
Yeah.
That would
and
not
he's
be pleasant.
screaming.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan is screaming while this is happening. I'm like, oh my god, dude.
Yeah, they went for it. So he's dragging him through the coals, literally. Fucking, then he force pushes Obi-Wan all the way away and puts the fire out and is like, yeah, you're not getting off that easy. Like, I'm taking you and you're mine and you're going to suffer real bad.
Yeah.
And then, so Tala pops up over this little cliff, or not a cliff, but like a pile of rocks. She pops up with her little blaster, and Vader has these stormtroopers with him, so she blasts one of the stormtroopers going to get Obi-Wan. And I love this like thing. It's just like good showing of Vader's character, where right when she shoots, like all the stormtroopers are like, whoa, and they react immediately, and Vader doesn't. And he's just like, and then like a second after, he's like, huh? And then like looks over there like, the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Like he just doesn't flinch at all. So that was cool. And then Tala shoots the flammable stuff again.
Yeah.
Reignites the fire. So there's that barrier between him and like Obi-Wan and Vader. And she gets her like robot boy, her bonk bot, to pick up Obi-Wan and carry him away. And Vader just kind of watches. And he's like, damn. And then turns around all like upset.
Yeah.
And leaves. It's like, what?
As he does. That's his thing.
Dude.
He does that a lot.
I know, but like, we just saw him put out the fire.
Yeah.
So that was goofy. Like, I understand that they needed to be separated and that Vader needed to, like, they needed something to carry the story on.
Maybe leave the fire lit and then, I don't know how we would.
It wasn't very well done with, like, believable that Vader couldn't just be like, that's going to stop me?
Yeah.
I feel like he would walk through the fire to get to Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I don't feel like that would stop him, but whatever. What's really cool about that, though, like, it's in the dark, the fire is lit, and you can see it, like, reflected in Vader's goggles.
Yeah.
Like his eyeballs. And that looks fucking sick. Like, that picture of that image of Vader with the fire, they knew, like, they shot that super well. The cinematography for the fight and just everything after that is like, oh, it's peak. Everything around Vader just looks awesome.
Yeah.
Which is where they should have focused. Like, I'm glad that even with everything I have an issue with, like, the Vader stuff is like, ooh, that's good. That's good shit.
Yeah.
So Vader dips. Tala gets Obi-Wan with the robot, and she's like comforting him and like treating his burns. And she like he is burned. Like his fucking robes are scraped up on the left side. He's burned. You can see the singes and everything.
Yeah.
She's treating him, and then we cut to Leia, and she's running to the end of the tunnel. She gets there, and then you hear the third sister like, "Oh, hey, hi," and then you see her pop up, and Leia's like, "Well, where's any of the other people?" And it's like they're not here.
She's like, "I'll be your friend."
And they're just like dead
Come
on the
with
ground.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to know how the fuck she did that. How did the third sister get to the end of the tunnel?
Maxie Big the Force.
Yeah, because she was in the secret room at the fucking start of the tunnel.
Yeah, it's weird. Like,
I think someone on Reddit, like, I love the Star Wars community. It's funny to watch them on Reddit trying to explain all this stuff. Like, they drew a map of like how that would work.
Yeah.
That there were different tunnels and different paths, and like where the Vader fight happened, where Leia was, where all this stuff was. But it's like, dude, if they're not going to explain it, you don't have to explain it. Like,
yeah.
It's just one of those things where I think they were just like, it's Star Wars, suspend your disbelief.
Yeah.
And they do that a little too frequently for my taste, but it is what it is. Like, that's what Star Wars is. So, third sister gets Leia, we assume, and that's where it ends. The end.
So, what did you think of the episode, sort of overall, compared to like the first two?
The first time I watched it, I was pretty surprised that they pulled out Vader already. Yeah. Halfway through the series, here's the Obi-Wan Vader fight. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Already. And I was like, I was trying to avoid, because we do these podcasts on Wednesday, which is when the episodes come out, and I try to avoid watching them before we do this podcast. So, but I live with roommates, and I was listening to my other roommate in his room. Like, I couldn't help but hear Vader breathe and lightsabers hitting each other, and I was like, what is going on? So, I was pretty surprised to see that. After the second rewatch to write the synopsis and everything, I think, it doesn't jar me as much that they already went for that, and it's like, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
To a point that, if the second Vader heard about Kenobi, he'd be like, oh, I'm there. And they do it well enough where it doesn't seem like they jumped the gun, but I don't know. There's still something about it where it's like maybe too much Vader. Because I love it. I really do love seeing it.
Or too much too soon.
Too much too soon. Yeah, I think so.
Because I was gonna say, sort of bouncing around on the topics here, but we've heard a lot, like, sort of in the marketing lead up to this show, that they were like, oh, it's the rematch of the century, and like that's something that they talked about, but as the show is being made. Do you think, like, and I think the answer is pretty obvious, like, this is not the rematch they're talking about?
No.
Like, they're 100% gonna fight again.
100%.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan's gonna have a montage about getting his mojo back.
Yes.
Because, like, you can't just go from this Kenobi who's scared and can't... I don't think he does one swing at Vader. I think he just is, like, blocking
defensive,
everything, but, like, not well. He's like, oh, fuck, and gets fucked up. You can't go from that to, like, old Ben fucking up Darth Maul in one swing. Like, that's a fair point. Yeah. And he changes up his styles and everything like that. Obi-Wan knows how to fight. He's strong in the Force. This Obi-Wan is not at all. And it's like, somehow they need to get there. So they're going to do a whole, like, I think what's going to happen, Obi-Wan is all down bad, and he's sad, and he's like, well, at least Leia's safe. And they're like, well, my contact isn't answering. So he's going to be like, fuck, I got to actually, like, commit and save her. And I think that's going to be like, I got to get my mojo back, baby. Yeah. And he's going to Austin Powers that shit. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And then once he has his mojo, he's going to fight Vader again. And I think beat him.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's going to be a thing where he is about to beat him, but something is going to happen that makes it so he either can't or chooses not to.
I think he's going to beat him and chooses not to, like, do more with that. That's what I think.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, part of me is like, it would almost be more impactful if, like, he has another moment where he's like, yeah, you could have ended things a lot more quickly here, but something happens, like more Imperials arrive or something, and he's like, shit, well, I gotta dip now.
Well, it's kind of the same thing where, like, in episode 4, could Obi-Wan have beaten Vader there?
Yeah.
He chooses not to.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very similar to that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So now that we're halfway through the show, or at least of this season, there has been some talk of a season 2 possibly,
which surprised me a lot.
Yeah, like I don't know how I
that kind of deflated me a bit on this, because it's like, are you gonna fucking end this on a cliffhanger or not resolve?
I really hope not.
I know, I don't either. I wanted this to be a self-contained series.
Yeah.
And hearing that they're gonna do more seasons, it's like, what?
Yeah.
How are you gonna beat this?
Yeah, how do you top a rematch with Vader?
Let me tell you, you don't. You know?
And like we've seen so much of what happened, or obviously there's stuff that could have happened between him fighting Maul and then him, helping Luke out in episode 4, but like...
Sure, but I mean,
those are like
kind of
the
same
pivotal
thing where it's
things,
like, what happened? What made Han into a smuggler? And it's like, I don't care. You can show me that, but I never asked that question.
Yeah.
So I never really asked what happened to Obi-Wan.
How did he get his house?
I never
what
asked
if we don't
question.
have that answered?
Now that it's being shown, I actually like Solo. Like, I like that movie.
Yeah.
It's fun, but it's not one we needed. This show I like it.
Yeah.
But we didn't need it. It doesn't answer these big fucking things, but I'll take it. But at the same time, I really wanted it to be its own thing, and hearing that it got another season or something.
It may.
I hope that's just a rumor. I don't want that to be true at all.
I'm in agreement on that. Like, I love Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And like, at the end of the day, in the event that there is a season 2, it's like, okay, if he's, obviously it's still going to be him, but like, that's fine. I just sort of would prefer.
It's just like, you can't, it's just inherent that the more you show of something, the more it kind of cheapens it. Like, some of the best villains that have ever existed only have like 12 minutes of screen time or something in a full 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
So it's like, less is more in specific senses, but a lot with these characters. Like, they did that with prequel Anakin. It's like, everybody loved Darth Vader, and how many scenes did he have in like episode 5 and 4? Barely any.
Yeah.
And everybody fucking loved him. He became the biggest villain ever. And then, you give him an entire backstory, you give him so much development, and people are like, he's not as cool.
Yeah.
He's not.
Yeah.
He's still awesome, but he doesn't have the gravity,
Yeah.
So it's conflicting. I don't know. Like, I'll take it every time, and I still nerd out. All the shit with Vader. You heard me talking about him. I was like, this is so cool. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know in my gut that it's not good for the character.
Yeah.
So I don't want them to keep doing it.
So, do you have any other sort of final thoughts before we wrap things up for this episode, or?
No, I'm excited to see like where the show goes from here. I can kind of see it in my mind's eye of how that's going to go down, kind of. But I'm excited to see more twists and turns, and I'd like to be excited again, or not excited again, but like surprised again if a character just shows up, like when Vader just was a part of this episode so heavily. I was like, wow, what, really?
Yeah.
It's interesting. So, I think this show still has a lot of potential to keep being interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll sort of obviously keep things, going with this. I'm glad to say that there hasn't been any filler. That's another thing that, like, thank God this is not like...
Right.
Let's save the baby Rancor this episode.
No.
It's like, but what if we didn't, though? So, that's gonna,
You have fucking Obi-Wan and Leia being like Mando and Grogu.
Yeah.
Like, they're gonna have that dynamic with Jawas and Rancors and whatever. No, I don't want that.
So, that's gonna do it for today's episode of the Boyos Discuss. If you enjoyed the podcast and you're listening on YouTube, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like the video and subscribe to the channel. We'll be back next week to talk about episode 4 of Kenobi. Until next time.
See you around.